Good evening. Tonight we have 8 true, chilling short horror stories. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is nuts. And for all you new guys that don't already know, at 1,000 we shall be doing a live stream live in the woods at night, where I will be alone to answer some questions, as well as have you join me in an exploration. However, without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. My grandfather found a life-size doll hanging by a rope around its neck in a tree-wooded area on the way home one day. He said it looked like somebody hung it up there and was using it for shooting practice or something. My mum was still a child, so the jokester he is brought it home for her and my aunt. Well, they actually liked the thing and cleaned it up and played with it. My grandmother says till this day the scariest things started to happen around their house. For example, it was night time and her and my grandfather were in bed sleeping. Well, she said she woke up to the blanket making her feel strangled, and it was almost like someone crawled into their bed and laid in between them. She sat up, startled, and that's when their bed started to shake and dressers shaking also. But nothing on the dressers moved or fell. It got to the point she was so freaked out and fed up with all the spooky things going on in their house, she made my grandfather get rid of it. So he was good friends with the owner of a bar who was more than happy to take it off his hands, as he thought it would be a good conversational piece. Exactly 1 week later, the man who the doll was given to died. Keeping in mind he had perfect health. Number 2. When my son was about 3, he had a tent canopy attached to his bed frame. It covered about 3/4 of the length of his bed. He would always scoot towards the head of the bed and insist covering up head to toe with his blanket, no matter how warm it was. I couldn't turn off the lights until he was finished. I figured it was a normal kid thing, but one night, just out of curiosity, I asked why he covered up so thoroughly. His response, "Because the man with the moustache won't stop touching me. He's always trying to tickle me. If I'm covered and way up here, he can't reach me." No one else had access to our house, so needless to say, that scared the crap out of me. Till this day, he still covers with his blanket, no matter how warm it is, although not as thoroughly as he used to. He doesn't remember the man, but still will not go to bed uncovered. He's a teenager now. Number 3. My husband and I had just moved into a new house in a new state with our then 3-year-old. Naturally, I needed to go get food shopping for pretty much everything. It was dark by the time I arrived home and I could see upstairs, in what is now our bedroom. We didn't have any curtains or blinds yet. What I was sure was my husband standing in the window. The light was on, so it was pretty easy to see that he was standing there. I clearly needed help unloading, so I went straight inside and upstairs only to find no one was up there. I came back down to find him on the other side of the house, completely immersed in a video game. Clearly he had been there the whole time, but I asked anyways. And yup, hasn't been upstairs since I left. Gave me the chills at the time, but more so after meeting our new neighbour who informed us the previous owner committed suicide inside our house. It was her, our neighbour's, own late husband that discovered the body. Lots more stories, all creepy but harmless. We still live in the house and have learned to coexist. Number 4. One Christmas, me and my son were at my parents' house celebrating. It was getting late, so I told my son, who was about 5 at the time, "Let's get home and get you to bed before Santa goes to our house and has to leave because you're not asleep yet." We got home. I'm getting our bags out of the car and my son says, "Mama, shh, Santa's in our house." My blood froze. Our front curtains were open to show off our tree, so I asked, "What did you see?" He said, "Santa peeking at us in the window." At this point I'm crapping my pants. I took him to my neighbours and told them to call the cops if I'm not back in 5 minutes. The doors and windows were all locked and no sign of anybody in the house. I was scared all night. Number 5. One night I had a dream, or nightmare, that I was in a war. I went around a corner because I was running from something, and I came around the corner to see a gun pointed at my chest. It shot. With my left hand, I touched the wound and pulled my fingers away. There was blood on my 3 middle fingers to about the first knuckle line. I woke up in a dead sweat, calmed myself down, as it was only a dream. I then went back to sleep, but when I woke up, I noticed there was something on my hand, my left hand. There was dried blood on my 3 middle fingers only down to the first knuckle. Of course I freaked out and immediately went to the full body mirror in the house. There wasn't any other place that had dried blood. Number 6. My friend had mentioned that she had a ouija board, so I asked her to pull the board out so I could check it out. At first she was reluctant and said no, but then agreed to do so as long as she didn't have to participate. After she had the board set up, I asked, "Is there anyone here?" Nothing. So being a dumb teenager, I said, "If anything is in here and not talking, you're a coward." The board was put away after that. Fast forward about a week later and have me sleeping upstairs on my couch. I wake up on a stereotypical stormy night. Thunder and lightning, wind and rain, the full works. I look around to see why I woke up and I couldn't see a thing, and decide to try and fall back asleep. After laying there for about 30 seconds, I hear from downstairs, "Get the boy," in a very raspy, wispy voice. I open my eyes and listen. Nothing. Start to go back to sleep. "Get the boy." It was much louder this time. Then my downstairs door slams shut. I freak out because nobody slept down there and we had no drafts. Number 7. I have a terrifying story about a ouija board. I got a call from my cousin who said that he, his brother, his dad, and his best friend were using an ouija board in their basement. Prior to starting, they took a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy and placed it in an adjacent room face down on a pile of towels. My cousin took a short break because the board was just spouting nonsense and he went to go to the toilet. His dad and brother and friend started asking the board questions without him. One of the questions was, "Who is in the other room?" It just started spouting random numbers, and when my cousin came back in the room, his brother said that it wasn't working, that they were going to put it away, and he showed him the answer to the last question he asked. And he said, "Dude, that's my social security number." Then they started to talk to whatever started spewing answers out. It told my cousin he would die in the Air Force. At this point they tell the entity they are communicating with to prove itself. It then spelled out the word doll, and they were like, "What the F?" They opened the door to check out the porcelain doll they had laid in the other room, and when they opened the door, the doll was standing upright in front of the door, staring right at them. Everyone freaked and ran out of the house. His best friend burned the Ouija board, and I think he temporarily went nuts for a few months. My cousin for some reason then joined the Air Force and is now based in Europe. Number 8. Our old house was on a corner, and in the backyard had a side yard with a small deck that wrapped around the back. The dining room had patio doors that led out to the back, and we would have barbecues and such back there. When I was about 14, we only had one desktop computer and one laptop for the family. My brother and I would fight over the desktop. That's where Diablo 2 was installed, so I would use the laptop to write music. On one particular night, my brother had a friend over and they were downstairs doing whatever, and I was at the dining room table on the laptop. As I was wrapped up in my writing, I didn't pay much attention to my surroundings. I heard a knock on the patio door which startled me. I look up expecting my brother or his friend, as the basement has a door that led to the back deck as well. But standing at the door and waving was a person. Could not tell the sex or age, but he was wearing a Halloween pig mask. Thinking it was my brother or his friend, I mouthed, "Good one," and gave the person the finger, and they walked away. As soon as they left, I went downstairs to give them shit, and to my surprise and dismay, they were both sitting on the couch playing PlayStation. They swore up and down it wasn't either of them, and there was no way one of them would have had the time to get downstairs and unmask before getting on the couch. To this day, I have no idea who it was that knocked and waved. Thank you all for listening. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I want to thank you all, including all you new people. If you happen to be new, please hit that subscribe button as well as turn on post notifications to ensure that you do not miss any future uploads. But as always, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you in the next one.